As an entrepreneur who loves to work from home, who enjoys to have all the creature comforts around me while I'm working, I also do take the odd opportunity to step outside. A natural introvert, I do have sometimes to force myself to speak to people, though I'm also an extreme extrovert, so sometimes it goes a little bit too far. Um, but coming back to the topic, what we talk about, it's about living in this world of abundance. It's our journey into rediscovering what we have around us. And it was interesting. I have rather having a conversation with someone completely random online about the ancient tribes of South America who they claim to have doing child sacrifices and so on to appease the gods and so on, but they tend to overlook actually the killings that Western governments do in the name of democracy or capitalism or bringing in civilization, and how they spread the Western religions with the power of the sword. And it's very interesting to look at people who still look at these primitive cultures who had one or two sacrifices. If it actually was a sacrifice or a misinterpretation, we do not have clear context about it, and they do not look into their own genocides that they're creating, their own problems that they create. And also it's the same way when we're talking about the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Now, I personally, since I've studied chemistry and I've studied physics as well as applied and practical math, and been working with a lot of professors and PhDs who work in the industry and know a little bit about chemical reactions and so on and so forth. Once you go deeper into this, you see there is no actual claim to what they say is happening around the world, and there is no actual meaningful data that shows that. There's not many people who know carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is only 0.4%, and through entire human activity it can only go up by 0.44%. That's 0.04% increase of carbon dioxide. But since the media is talking about it and everyone today is more or less has this herd mentality, and media is more or less like their religious book, and the politicians are like their religious leaders, and the governing systems are like the laws of their religion. So it's every day interesting to see that more and more people are, how deeply they believe these messages which is coming on TV and so on and so forth. And the funny fact is they themselves say that they do not necessarily listen to what's said on TV, but they are subconsciously being programmed. And that's what we are looking at today for those of us who would love to discover this beautiful world that we are living in, who love to step out of this realm of fear and this realm of freedom and this realm of manifestation, is that we live more or less as what is being looked upon as the Garden of Eden or heaven. We have everything exactly what the Garden of Eden, if you believe in those stories, describes: the beautiful lakes, the animals, beautiful air to breathe, and the fields to graze upon, to roll around, the fruits to eat. Yet we have imprisoned ourselves with these thoughts that we need to have the latest iPhone, the latest Tesla, right? Or the latest Armani or Gucci, Molon or Blahniks, all this type of shoes, the latest camera, the latest sound system, the microphone, and so on and so forth. And because we are captured by the need to have all these things, we have imprisoned ourselves. Having a simple house, a simple place to live, nice and warm and cozy, with a lot of love, is no longer enough. We need the huge mansion. We need the 5, 6, 7 rooms, and 3 of them unused. And we need all this space which is ever being used, and only thing we do with these huge spaces is just use additional time to clean them and attend to them, and put a lot of energy that we could put into other valuable things in life, right? Being around people we love, meditating, being conscious, doing great things, taking an inner journey, or traveling for that fact, going and seeing a beautiful new country, right? Driving just across the border to experience a new culture or a different culture. So you see these slight changes in the way we look at things makes a huge difference. I know my own family who owns amazing big houses, but since all the time and money is spent on that house where only 2 people live, and they may have a party every once in 3 to 4 months, the opportunity to travel outside and experience other amazing things, even just go to a restaurant, is not within their grasp, because everything is dumped on something that they have only use for every once in 6 months. And in that case, would you rather commit your whole life to owning a big luxury house that where you have a party every 6 months, or at least, or just once a year for Christmas? Or would you have a nice cozy little place to live comfortably and rent a lovely hall whenever you want to get together and have a good time? See, the economics speak to themselves. If you look at the most wealthiest people in the world, they do not necessarily have so much of liabilities. Yes, they may have assets, they may have lovely big houses or housing complexes which they rent out, which generate revenue, but they themselves do not need a big mansion just to show that they have a big mansion to the outside world. And this way of thinking is just a slight shift in your thinking, where you learn to be happy and comfortable in a nice cozy little place, where you can have your rituals, where you can have a separate room for your kid, for your kids, a separate room for yourself, but still is nice and warm and cozy and full of love, is much better than having a large house which is isolated, most of the time cold because nobody's around, or the heater just going on and wasting a lot of electricity, because you have no choice but to keep it heated, because it's built in such a way that if it's not heated, it could catch mold, for example. So these liabilities that we put on ourselves, just because society says that's how it should be, you should have a big fancy house, a lovely flashy car or 2, wear the most flashiest watches and shades and clothing and so on, and travel only to the most luxurious locations and go to the most exclusive parties and so on. Once you become a prisoner to this devices, once you become indoctrinated, then you lose whatever little bit of happiness that you have, because now you're only going to work just to pay for the loan that you taken for the house that you really do not need, and your life becomes a vicious circle where you're just feeding into this monster that has programmed you to be a continuous consumer, and to continuously consume you have to continuously earn, and And look at the bigger picture. When you are a continuous consumer, when you're changing your smartphone every year, when you're changing your wardrobe every other year or so on, the amount of waste that's going into landfills. And because of this habit, it's not just with you, but with an entire population of a planet. And to feed that population, the manufacturing, they have to continuously manufacture, and as you continuously manufacture, they have to continuously discard. And this, on a higher scale, is what is actually creating pollution, because all this discarding of plastics and other material accumulates. And just because you may have a nice kitchen, but just because it's not the right type of design, you may completely rip this kitchen apart and replace it. And you may take a loan, which you will work for the rest of your life to pay it. So you're wasting your life paying that loan for a kitchen upgrade. At the same time, those things which you are throwing out, if they're not properly recycled, and most of them cannot be properly recycled, imagine the environment impact that's happening, and multiply this by the global population. So as you change your mindset to live more humble, to have some really, really good looking clothes, or clothes that look really good on you, but not necessarily branded or bought second hand, and saying, hey, this is all the clothes that I'm going to have. And yes, if there is a specific need to have a specific type of jacket or something, or you need to just buy yourself some new underwear or something, definitely that's okay, but not go into this retail therapy, which Gary Bradshaw from Sex and the City speaks about. When you have psychological distress and when you're unhappy, one of the best ways to get over it is to go shopping, which gives you about 5 minutes of happiness. So once you learn to be mindful about this, learn these things like retail therapy, which is nothing more than taking a painkiller tablet for a headache instead of actually going into the problem and understanding what caused the headache. You're just putting a bandage over a festering wound, right? So once you rephrase these things in your life, once you start looking deeply into these things which are causing this type of distress, and instead of just putting a band-aid on top of it, but just going and buying a new jacket, made me feel good for 5 minutes, maybe 10, right? But actually, why am I feeling empty and lonely inside? Actually, why am I feeling overly stressed and anxious? Actually, why am I feeling insecure? When you take this inner journey and start working on yourself from within, then you see the world in a completely different light. Then you see that we are living in total abundance. Total abundance. I have people who get money from the government, who are supposed to be on minimum wage, living the most amazing life, traveling, driving a lovely car, visiting friends, having amazing times with friends, so much so they do not have enough time in the day, because they're always being called by friends who want to talk, who want to, share great ideas, visions, thoughts. Children who want to spend so much amazing interactive time with them, talking about lovely things. People inviting them for dinners and parties and so on. And it's all out there today. So once you take the focus away from this consumerism lifestyle, the need to look like everyone else, to wear the same shoes that's right now popular, wear the same type of jacket that's really popular, attend the shows which is really popular, and so on, and go into yourself. What is it that you really enjoy? Are you being true to yourself? Have you taken this journey inwards to understand what is it that lies deep down inside? What is it? What is your deepest desire? And have you journaled it? because I think that's one of the most important part, is to journal your deepest desire and look back at it, and you will see it's basically how we measure a child's growth on a door, on a windowsill or a door frame as a child grows. So when you journal yourself, you yourself look into your mind and you see how you've grown, how you changed, and you laugh at your old habits and so on. So let me know what you feel, what do you think about this inner journey and rediscovering this Garden of Eden that we are living in for what it is and for not what we are taught it should be.